Period. I don't give a fuck about no money. I don't give like that was never a thing for me. I don't care about money. I don't put stock. I don't give a fuck about a bag. I can get a bag anywhere on this planet. I'm talking about respect. I don't go where I'm not respected. I don't hang out where I'm not respected. I don't fuck with niggas that don't respect me. Period. I don't give a fuck about no money. I don't give like that was never a thing for me. I don't care about money. I don't put stock into money like that. Like some of my best friends are broke, but they will do anything for me.
Same.
You understand what I'm saying? Yeah. Like so money is not, I don't care about money.
Oh, wow. The writing on the wall, the shade and the pettiness of Charlemagne and the rumor report today discussing Joe Biden allegedly firing Rory, the white Kappa from the Joe Budden podcast. I literally, was going to do a breakdown of the Clearing the Air video or conversation and talking to it in more in depth because it's bigger than this, their pod, about the whole podcast game in general. The beef between Joe and Charlemagne, a little penis measuring contest they be having. But I should have did the video because I kind of like predicted not that he would get fired on air, but the conclusion that I came to was being solidified in what recently just happened. But let's talk about that. Let's talk about the Clearing the Air video first because that happened a few weeks ago, and they did a pod after that, which was I didn't think that was gonna happen. But let's talk about it.
Change it to the Joe Budden podcast. Just but
this guy's volunteering more of his fucking thoughts.
I thought y'all was a group. I thought y'all was a group.
Your little academic tactic won't work here.
But I'm just saying, like, imagine if Destiny's Child came back together. It can't be called the Beyonce album.
He's trying to divide and conquer the same way he did by getting Ack on his podcast.
We're gonna talk. I can't wait to talk about all of it. I can't wait to talk about all of it.
Well, I'd like to know, and I think I also speak for Mole. Why are we salty?
Why are y'all salty?
If I remember correctly, on the last,
well, listen,
you had brought up some tweets, some things I said on the podcast. Apparently, I am salty at DJ Academics.
I think you got a little hate towards academics.
You might be right,
Rory.
Why?
Because I think that he's going to take your spot eventually. Joe's got to do his best for his brand.
Wait, you think
Joe's got to do his best for his brand? And I'm going to
do a lap real quick.
Oh my God! This is just my assessment, right?
I love this.
I don't know how close you and Joe are. To me, it seems like Joe and Mal have been knowing each other for a long time. I feel like Joe is loyal to his friends.
Okay, so
the guys he meets through the industry, y'all kind of disposable.
Joe, are we industry friends?
I don't know. I'm just.
So let's talk about it. So this is the imagery of the Joe Budden Clearing the Air podcast. This is the first pod back after 6 weeks of, as academics say, Ruri and Ma. They were absent from their job. We didn't know what was going on. I personally, I have a love-hate relationship with the pod. Like, I've been a fan of Joe's music. He's rapping in my top 10. Lyric-wise, I'm a New Yorker. I care about bars. So I've always liked that aspect of him, even though he was a junkie and a piece of shit and horrible in relationships and couldn't relate to none of that stuff he was talking about. Sometimes I just like his bars. But as a person watching the pod, I realized, I didn't like him as his personality and the loud talking and the yelling and shit like that. Like, nah, B, we can't be friends and you talk like that. You can't be in the same room being like that. Hands will be laid, and I'm not talking about church. But I just don't get along with people that type of personality, period. But anyways, so I've listened to the pod probably more than any other religiously. I listen to all of them. Pretty Idiots sometimes. Flagrant 2 a little bit more now. Joe Rogan is a hit and miss. Depends on what comes on. But I've been listening over the years. There are times, of course, where stuff happens in life where you don't have time to listen anymore or whatever. But I've been an avid listener over the years. And I guess things probably. I put it like this, right? I remember Joe Budden kept joking about Eddie Murphy and Arsenio. He kept making it seem like Arsenio don't know Eddie and he not cool. He's a peasant. He kept talking in those terms, and I'm like, but I watched the Breakfast Club interview. That was a different vibe I was getting. He made it seem like we talk often. We have conversations about this, and we still cool. Like I'm not a peon or a peasant. I might not have been working publicly like in a limelight, but neither has Eddie either. Like Eddie admitted he fell off from doing movies because the several movies he did that bombed, so he just took a minute to chill. But that kind of hierarchy, classism thing he was doing, like, to me, that seems like it really is Joe Budden's personality. Like, you know, again, because he's been on the bottom, his career as a rapper tanked. I mean, as a fan of his lyrics and his bars, we can say he wasn't a successful rapper in the grand scheme of things. Can out rap a lot of the people who are more successful than him, but as far as a rap career and getting the hits and all that, he did not do that. He didn't go in that route. Which he went in the lane I think he should have went in. But from my interpretation of what happened, and at least what was said, Joe Biden and the white dude, the white Kappa, were going back and forth. You could see the energy between them in the pod wasn't really good anymore. You see Rory getting like hot and threatening to fight Joe often on different pods. That happened throughout the last few years. And one day Joe told Rory, like, yo, take off. For whatever reason, Maul put on a cape and said, no, how you gonna do that? Like, this is a team, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh, you taking some liberties in words, but like, you know, y'all cool and y'all friends. And Maul has been there since the jump. Maul, you know, early Joe Budden, when Joe Budden was like the first celebrity to actually be doing like what everybody's doing now. Like, he was podding before podding was podding. But he was doing like the reality show version of it. Like, he had Joe Budden TV way before this was a thing. And Maul has been there since the jump, so they cool. They lived together before in the same house. And for whatever reason, Maul decided to not, his words was not take Rory's side, but like, yo, if this is a team, we working together, you can't just do that. Who are you to do that? And apparently Joe's response to that was, this part is none of your business. And things got worse. Things got bad. Some laying of hands were threatened to do between friends, which I'm sure they have had that a lot, because you've been seeing every time like Joe will be laughing, trying to crack jokes, touch the man's leg, like, yo, get off me, don't touch me. Like, there was some realness behind that, like, don't touch me type of thing. So, yeah. But I think that there were other podcasts that were having conversations about friends and the business, and we see a lot of other podcasts that are breaking up because some want to go more corporate. Some people want to do this, you know, they want to go against the grain and they want to be wild, and they in this age where everybody's getting stifled, everybody's getting silenced. Like, it's crazy how much censorship is going on, and people don't realize the bigger you get as a podcast, the more censorship comes because you want the ad dollars, and that sucks. And even they joke about that on their pod, like, yo, they say we pussy. Certain conversations they won't even talk about. Like Jay-Z, they were just reviewing Jay-Z and Nas' latest song, and Joe didn't voice an opinion because there's too many relationships to be hurt. And that's kind of sucks when you do look at these pods. It's like all these people are interconnected. They're all friends. They all know each other. They all do business with each other. They even if they take shots at each other, they still making money with each other. The beef with Charlemagne and Joe, like, they have these little weird penis contests with each other, but they were still doing a year-end wrap-up, which they didn't do this year, but they still make money together. So it's like, these people are all connected. So it's just like, to me, that's a issue too. And I'm saying, I wonder if that's inevitable, like, to be in that business, and y'all all at the end of the day trying to get the same bag. Y'all all at the end of the day, like, people are consuming all of your content. So it's not even like you can say they're competition, because most people who watch this one, watch that one, they watch to see the little shots being taken back and forth and whatnot. So it's not even like they're competition with each other, and they have different audiences. This is Joe Budden podcast is technically a music podcast. The others are not. So that's why they can say we are the #1 music podcast, even though they talk about every other thing. But one thing that I said that Maul said, so Maul, after being told this pod is none of your business, he said that hurt him. He felt some way about that. And then he said that when he brought on Ice and Ish, the two other dudes, the ones that were there for Kevin Samuels' video, he said he felt the way about that because, like, he felt like we built this, blah, 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 and you brought some new people on. My take to that, which is like, I agree with Joe in the instance, because he said we can't not pod. We can't not continue. It's too many people they got to eat and work. Maul's response to that was, well, it wouldn't have took 6 weeks. We could have squashed this in 1 week. But again, I don't want if I'm in a situation, I'm eating off this, and I'm buying houses, getting married, doing these things, and y'all got your little petty beefs. I don't care about none of that. Like, y'all need to handle your business. To me, I think Spotify changed the game for them because they were contractually obligated to do a lot of stuff, and I think that those mechanisms that were put in place, just having a bigger structure and a bigger company around you, I think they should have took some of that with them when they left. Like, because it seemed like once you go to that route and go to that height, going back is difficult. It's different. Like, it's a different hunger. And so I didn't agree with what Ma. I understood what Ma was saying. You know, the whole I don't care about money. It ain't about money. Blah blah blah. It's always about the money. Like, stop it. But him saying that he felt the way because Joe told him the pot is none of your business. Joe's response to that was, well, that was Joe's response. And then he said, well, I felt even more of a way when you picked Ice, which was also their friends. And about them, well, I'll get to that later. But then Joe also felt some type of way because he felt like he was picking Rory or joining to help Rory. And Ma's response was, no, that's not what I'm doing. It's about, this is a pod, this is a team. If it was anybody else, I'd do the same thing because you can't just tell a man he can't come to work. Like, how do you do that? That's not how this is set up. Ironically, it is. Joe makes a point, though, is name another career or job where you can leave work for 6 weeks and just be subordinate and come back and it's all cool and it's all good. So even in that podcast where they were clearing the air and everybody was getting the stuff off their chest, Joe was still shitting on him in that interview. And you saw, if you watched Brilliant Idiots, you saw Andrew Schultz, who also has a dick penis contest with Joe too, just along with Charlamagne, which to me is like, if I was Charlamagne, I'd tell Andrew to get the fuck out of it because like there was a situation where they were talking about the whole Spotify and ownership, and Charlamagne has the Black Effect Network where he basically is just a recruiter of black podcasts for iHeart. He partnered with them, but again, there's a difference between ownership and partnership. And the white dude bugging in and the Indian dude getting in that black conversation is like whack. Because they were trying to say, well, if Patrice O'Neal was here, he would have called y'all out and called Dave Chappelle out. I'm like, no. Like, this is where I'd be like, white dude, mind your business. Get out of this. Even though Joe Budden has two white dudes on his show that are annoying and liberally fuckity fuck dudes too. But I'm saying, I don't think that, because they felt some type of way about what Dave Chappelle did, and I'll do a video on that later about how he basically used this fake white guilt that these companies are having to get back his show. Whatever. He signed the contract. It was a bad deal, but he signed it. That's his responsibility. But he used the leverage of this fake woke Black Lives Matter companies acting like they care space to benefit himself, and it worked. And that's what I said. I think Patrice O'Neal, who might be one of the GOAT on the low comedians, he probably would have understood the same thing and like, yo, I'm gonna chill on this. And I'm saying Charlamagne should get the white dude out of this black conversation, this black business. But they have their little pissing contests and talking shit, and they were trolling. This shit was funny. It was about, respecting people, and because that's what Maul's biggest issue was. He felt like there was a lack of respect, especially when you told him that, this pod is none of your business. And one thing we can't say about Charlamagne, although he is petty, and I think he is a snake, and it's like Charlamagne's not the type of dude that'll put you on and help you out and still shit on you. Like, he did a lot for Act, but he'll still clown him and make fun of him. But he hasn't recently, because I think actions speak for themselves. What he's accomplished is like, you can't really say nothing about me. But Charlamagne is that type of dude to me. Like, he'll put you on, but he damn sure will clown you too, and be petty too, and put you in a worse situation. But one thing that you can give him that credit to is he's not about himself as far as getting all the deals and getting all the shows. He's good. He wants to be the person to put the talent out there and get more content creators out there. And I can't knock him for that. He should get credit for that. He's always trying to make everybody else around him eat. Even Wax, who's an idiot, has his own podcast, has his own weed. Like, this dude is the damn bodyguard, and he made sure he got on and got access to doing his own pods and doing things. Like, that's how you're supposed to do it. The whole LeBron James, everybody who you grew up with, who came with you from the get-go, you make sure they're eating too. You can't take that away from Charlamagne. I think he's a snake, but still, I can't take that part away from him. And it doesn't seem like Joe has that element around him. Joe has a pattern of ruined relationships, failed business deals, and if you're rocking with him, is a lot of uncertainty. But yeah, like after that pod clearing the air, to me myself, after things were said, the pod ain't got nothing to do with you. He said the mall, but in a side note is that when Rory admitted that he should have chilled too, that's what Ma probably looked like left out there on the island, because Rory said, yo, he went back and he watched some of the previous episodes, you know, and he was like, yeah, our chemistry was off. I was a little, I was ready to fight you a lot. And he agreed that he should have took off. Maybe not in that moment he didn't agree with that or believe in that, but Monday morning quarterback, and he like, yo, you know what? I look back and I'm like, damn, it was off. It was bad. I was damn near threatening to fight you damn on the air. A lot of weird passive aggressiveness and whatnot. And so it's like, damn. But for me, after that first pod coming back, to me, I thought this shit was over. Like, I wish I would have done my video before, but I don't think there was coming back from what happened in that situation. Even though they're all clearing out the air, they're all saying how they really feel, things really didn't get answered, or like they went on and did finished the pod. They did an hour and a half of this therapy session, but after that, they went to continue the pod, and I'm just like, yeah, I didn't solve any issues. I didn't really address the shit that matters. Like, men to men, like they're all men in that room. Maul let it be known, like, I don't care about the pod as far as this money thing ain't for me. The problem that Maul had, though, was they felt like things weren't being told to them, and him saying to him that this pod is none of your business. So that's legal matters and stuff that you have representation. You have Biggs or one of the dudes from Rockefeller's your representation. So that's all legal stuff. Like, you take that to them and be like, it's the white dude Ian who's at, somewhere in that room. You gotta handle your business. But I'm sure being in friendships, some of that stuff is clouded, right? Can you really have a pod with your friends like that? Like, it's crazy with the business, the money, the trolling from other people like academics who's a troll and undermining everything that they do. It's crazy. And I'm sure all that drama, like, they predicted that the Breakfast Club wouldn't be here now because they thought Charlamagne was going to leave. Charlamagne didn't leave because iHeart gave him a little deal where they was like, yo, I'll be your partner. You go out there and recruit nigga podcasts and bring them back to us, and we'll give you a percentage of that, right? So that's why he didn't leave. And the funny thing is, like, we're not going to forget, like, Charlamagne and Angela Yee had beef literally a year ago because Charlamagne didn't say nothing to Gucci Mane when he called her a bitch, which I think she is, so I don't care. But she felt some type of way about that, and I always say this, and Charlamagne because it looked like he wasn't going to come back, or he was talking reckless too and saying, basically, like, we not friends, we just were co-workers, which a lot of people got to recognize that. That's the difference between the Breakfast Club and Joe Budden. These are his actual real friends that he knows in the business, outside of the business and working. Whereas Angela Yee, Digi Envy, they've been together for over 10 years, but they weren't actually real friends in real life. But I will say, to me, when Charlamagne said that, I thought that was bull, because I remember when he tells the story about Busta Rhymes, how Busta Rhymes is about to check him, Angela Yee, little half Asian ass, got in between two grown, well, Charlamagne's a little midget, but Busta Rhymes being a little dude, and she got in between them. So I'm like, okay, so she physically got between you and the man who's ready to pound on you because he was being light-skinned and mad that Charlamagne clowned his music. I think that you do kind of owe her something. She got in between you and another man, and you didn't have your fake bodyguard with you at the time, so she was that for you. So I'm thinking, to me, like, clearly she cares about her coworker enough to get between another dude that's ready to swing on you. So that's the only thing I didn't understand when Charlamagne made it seem like downplayed their relationship and what it really was. I'm like, nah, dog, she got in between you and another man. Like, come on. But yeah, like, from what I see in the pod, after Rory admitting that he shouldn't have been there, Maul saying, I'm not taking Rory's side, but just as a respect thing and we built this together thing, he felt some type of way about Ice and Ish doing the pod. And about that, I think that Ice and Ish did a good job. Like, it wasn't again, perception is everything and how you see it in context. Because I didn't watch every one of the pods that they were on, but it did seem to be more refreshing when you got people in a room that don't have as many industry ties, even though they're all in the same circle. Or because I just have regular 9 to 5, so yeah, they probably friends with other celebrities and whatnot and people in the industry, but they seem to have spoken more freely. Like Ish got some wild takes about, he don't like rappers who can actually rap in bars, so he like the southern stuff, even though he's an up north dude and it's weird. He got some hot weird takes, but he can at least voice that. Whereas Rory and Maul, Rory's doing an album. Maul is supposed to be representing athletes or some other entertainers and whatnot. Like they have to speak a certain way about certain things, and it's like it makes a pod trash when people can't freely open and speak about it. And it's funny too because I'll do a different video because one of my boys, shout out DJ. Yo, technical difficulty, right? Well, shout out to my boy DJ blacq, but he did a video just responding to what happened with the Kevin Samuels video on the Joe Budden pod. And like, man, I'll just do a separate video about that. But that was crazy how much censorship is going on, how much people is really not saying how they really feel and what they really think. You saw that element a little bit with the beef between Corey Holcomb and what the hell is that nigga name? Forgot his name, but y'all know who I'm talking about. The beef that they had, he kept talking about how he knows that he's not saying what he really feels about things because of his woman questioning what he said on the pod. Again, those are things that are issues, and when you doing this thing publicly, you're not just affecting yourself. You might be in a situation where you can talk your ish, but your parents or your spouse or whoever you living with, whatever, they might have to be. They're probably getting questioned about some of the things you say on your platform. So that can suck. But I'm seeing how much people are fucking censoring themselves in this corporate game of pods, and it's like before it was cool and it was fun when people could speak freely, and it's like that gets you to #1 spot, that gets you to grow the audience, and then you gotta switch up on your audience that got you there because them corporate dollars don't want to hear all that nonsense. But I guess this video is long enough. The first part was 18 minutes, and I'm coming back with another 2. So yeah, honestly, it looks like Rory got fired on air. That's what it sounds like. I don't know what Mar's gonna do. Again, after watching that first pod and everybody explained themselves and Joe basically still shitting on him like, yo, like the pod isn't your business. Yo, like you can't go anywhere else and do anything else. I think they should have took some elements of what happened when they were at Spotify as far as structure-wise. I'm sure it was a lot more there being as they're a bigger company. And they should have put them in place, especially when you see how many other podcasts are breaking up that are successful and are good, but one person wants to go corporate, one person wants to be wild, and that's not good for ad dollars. Or you trying to branch off and do other things outside of the pot, which got you popping, but you can't. You got to have a cleaner image. So I'm saying you need some type of structure there to control all that. And well, if it was therapy, whatever they needed, he claimed he went to therapy with Rory. Apparently that ain't work. It looked like them boys lawyered up to say that Joe wasn't sharing the money, even though for the longest time they all said it wasn't about the money. Ma said a million times, I don't give a fuck about money. So it looks like them boys lawyered up and they got the representation to talk to other representation, like what's going on and where the numbers at. And it's like, yeah, being with Joe, like they follow his lead, but it's like maybe they're at the point where they're making life changes and life decisions. Rory was getting married, which I heard he messed it up by getting caught out there. And it's funny too, when I saw that in the pod, I noticed the jokes about him, because they'll joke about the other white dude and his girl, and then they used to joke about Rory and Sam, and I just noticed it wasn't there no more. And it's funny how you could pick up, I didn't know all the rumors and whatnot, academics talks about it, whatever, but how basically he got caught out there cheating, whatever, and that engagement was called off. But when you're making life decisions and you're trying to get married, trying to settle down, whatever, buying big purchases, buying a house and all that, that whole friendship and you not letting me know what's good, that changes too. Like, nah, like I need some security and some stability. And apparently Maul and them went a wrong way around getting it. They probably waited too late. But yeah, it's a commercial, so I guess that's the time to get out of here. All right, though. That's just my take on it, man. Look like that pod might be done. And that's the funny thing too. Their beef was they tried to spin it as a fake beef and make it turn into a real beef. Meaning, because after he told him not to come back, then he's like, all right, cool. He took his time off, but then he had to quarantine wherever he went. He couldn't come back, so they tried to play that around that. But then, oh yeah, one thing too that Maul did that I think is a problem, because you hear them joke about it all the time, is Maul was late a lot of times. I think the one white dude that used to be on Flagrant 2, the black dude, my bad, he got fired allegedly for being Maul. He got fired because he wasn't taking it serious. Andrew Schultz and the Indian dude, they were trying to, invest in their business and go for broke, and it's popping now, whatever. And they saying he wasn't doing enough to help the company grow, and it looked like he got fired. But I seen him on Joe Budden's new podcast, right? Again, all these people are in the same little bubble. They all know each other. This is recycle people, two biracial chicks that are on Charlamagne's bootleg partnership network, where iHeart he recruits niggas for iHeart. But he can't even get them because they're all biracial chicks. But two of the same chicks that are on that network, one of them is on Joe's network. So it's like, man, mad conflicts of interest, yo. Mad people dipping in and going in different pots or whatever. It's crazy. I wonder how that's going to end up being, because it's like you got two of the people trying to be kings in this podcast game, and there's a lot of crossover and whatnot. But yeah, what I was going to say is like that dude that's, I don't even know his name, but Alex, I think is, no, that's not Alex. Alex is still there. Whoever that black dude is, like basically he is what Maul is, and Maul did seem to be the dude that's always late, because they talk about it all the time in the pod. And then Joe said that, yo, I asked you to come meet with me, blah, 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 and you didn't come for 4 days, and we were supposed to meet. Again, like, you can't do that nowhere else in any other business. Like, your employer who signs your check, his names are on the check, says, oh, we got to meet and talk about something important, blah, 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 and you show up when you want to, when you feel like it. That's issues. Again, I think everybody was at fault. Everybody did a little bit too much. But being said, I said, like, there's no way I could see coming back. Like, there's no way we can have this heart to heart and keep, watching that pod. And I wrote that comment in the comment section to that video. I see how many likes they got. If anybody hating on me, I probably wrote it too late. But I said that watching that pod was like watching Malcolm and Marie. Like, it was like a big ass dialogue of arguments and passive aggressiveness and people just killing each other publicly. Not publicly, but they did that. It felt like that. Like, it felt like it was, for lack of a better word, which Joe Budden is a fan is accustomed to this word. It was mad toxic, right? Like, just the things that were said and how it was said and Joe's response. And when Rory said, "Yo, I probably should have left the pod," I think it kind of killed Maul's whole argument. When he said, "Yeah, I look back and I was doing too much and I was wilding out." Again, the way that Joe went about doing it, like, yo, he's on the airport going on vacation, going somewhere, and you tell your man, like, don't come to work for the next couple weeks. And then your other man finds out and he says, wait, what you mean? Like, how you going to just do that? And then your boss tells you that this pod stuff is none of your business, but it's been your business for the last 10 years. Like, you have all sacrificed, you have all been in it. But again, they've all made mistakes. And honestly, I wouldn't follow Joe Budden anywhere. Like, as much as he's gotten them to their success to this point, as much as he's been the underdog who's come up, there's no structure in what he does. There's no stability in what he does. And then he has a horrible history of relationships. And Charlamagne, give him credit too, he called it. He said the biggest mistake that Joe Budden did is when he changed the name from "I'll name that podcast later," which was a cool name, cool concept. And Charlamagne said that on their podcast. Why y'all let him do that? Apparently they didn't have a choice. And I get what Joe was trying to do, because to go to the next level in the podcast game, the goal is to have other people under your platform. Shout out to my man Mace Jackson. He's doing the same thing with radio, YouTube, and Facebook. But that's the goal right now. The goal, if you're in a podcast game and you're trying to get to the next level and get that bread and get those dollars, is to have people, say your pod getting 1 million views, but if you got 5 or 6 other pods under you that are also getting 1 million views combined, or some might even do better numbers, That's what you're going to do. Clearly, Rory and Maul don't care about that aspect of the business because Maul went on to one of Joe Budden's podcasts with the two biracial chicks, and he said that, I don't care about pod and blah, 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 blah. And, of course, Joe saw that, and he felt some type of way when he's trying to build a pod network, and he's watching one of his friends, yet employees, because he signs that man checks, go on another network, or his own network, a different pod, and say, I don't really care about podding. And, again, he was saying he didn't care about building a network and doing what Joe's trying to do. They should have just had better mediaries, and they should have had other people outside of them to go talk to handle business. The way they did it was wrong. It does look like, from what I'm watching, podding with your friends ain't it. Especially when it comes to money. It is what it is. Oh, I'll say this real quick, too, in defense of Maul. Watching the pod, especially during this election season, and this is most black podcasts, period, is heavy Negrocrat energy. And, just total Democrat talking points. Joe has other business and other things going on, so he's like regurgitating a bunch of the bullshit that you hear on CNN and stuff like that, which is definitely turned me off on the pod. Like, that really had me to not watch it. But I will say, Maul was the voice of reason in a lot of those conversations, and I gave him credit for that because the two liberal white dudes and then Joe Budden just being extra fake about everything, which every black podcast is doing. It's not just theirs, or every quote-unquote urban podcast is doing the same shit. At least on Brilliant Idiots, there's some pushback. At least Charlamagne does act like he wants to be somewhat balanced in the conversation, as he gave Tim Scott and Kamala Harris donkey today for what they said, even though he gave Kamala advice on what she could do better, but whatever. But I will say, when it came to the political conversations, because it bothered me a lot when last midterm, they were doing the whole vote bull, all of them, every episode, every pod, and then at the end of the pod, after the election was over, Maul gonna say, well, I'm gonna pay attention next time, and I'm gonna actually, like, motherfucker, you did all that tap dancing, like rolling, for the Democratic Party. He wasn't telling people to vote for, but we know what they mean when they say go vote. We know what check they signing when black podcasts are doing that. But to me, he made up for that when he was pointing out, like, oh, well, no, Joe Biden did do this and did blah, blah, blah. And it's like they didn't want to have those conversations. Even Joe kind of like, not push back, but kind of like either try to change the subject or like he wanted to push this narrative. And I will say, when it came to political conversations, not saying that he's astute when it comes to politics, because most Negrocrats are not, but he did I appreciated his presence being there for that topic specifically. That was the topic when he pushed back against Raw and more, to the point where they were calling him a Trump supporter, because just simply when you point out things that are factual and say things, this happened, this didn't happen, for whatever reason that makes you a Trump supporter, just by pointing out the truth. So I'm saying, I'll give him that credit too. He did bring that to the pod, and I respect that. I respected that he's going now. Apparently, I guess they both got fired. I thought it was just Rory got fired live on air. Apparently, both of them motherfuckers got fired. And again, I said it. I should have did the video. Not that I was trying to be right, but I said, ain't no way in the world we can go back and do business again. And if anything, one's going to change. The business is going to change, or our friendships are going to change. And if our friendship changes, that changes the pod, which is going to affect the business, because the whole point of them being together and knowing each other is the chemistry. And you can tell when people don't have good chemistry on air, on pods, or whatever. It is what it is. But damn, I will give that caveat towards Maul, is that on a lot of topics, he was somewhat the voice of reason. When Joe was just repeating Democrat talking points, and then the two white boys were just being bitch-ass white liberals.